Welcome to Volatility 411 for Equity Armor Investments. I am Joe Teague here on the floor of the SIBO in the VIX pit in the middle of December where we have an elevated VIX. Now we don't usually see an elevated VIX in December. Now what of course is going on? Yes, we have the Fed meeting today and they aren't expected to do anything of course, but that's actually getting the third billing so far in terms of news events today. Number one billing of course is always the trade war with China, big deadline this weekend, and of course there's also the impeachment hearings going on in Washington. So the market's watching all this, a moderately elevated VIX. Now remember, when the Chinese trade delegation was here in the US in October, the VIX was at 17. So the VIX actually isn't as high as it was back then. Now of course, we supposedly completed a phase one deal back then. We're still working on it now. And I think the market's starting to treat this a little bit like they treated Brexit. All the negotiations for forever and forever kept on delaying, and the market moved on eventually, finally less and less interest on each time they did that. Now the flip side of that of course is this weekend with the deadline with the tariffs. Could it be like the Brexit going on? That was a huge vol event. We saw the volatility pop when that happens. We had a VIX up at 30 overnight when that happens, so maybe that could happen on Sunday night. The market is anybody's guess. Now, putting all that aside, if we get behind all this next week, we get behind the Fed, we get behind the trade war news, and there's some delay with a VIX at 15, heading into Christmas, heading into the New Year's, we might see a volatility being suppressed. Behind me in the VIX pit and in the S&P pit, we're seeing a lot of high volatility. We have the skew at close to the highest levels of the year at 135. Those puts are very expensive. People are very concerned about a market shock event, of course, when you see that high skew. Behind me in the VIX, the volatility of the VIX, the VVIX, is 105, so volatility isn't free. It is a heavy fee. So a lot of trading going on. We got a lot to look at for the weekend. For Equity Armor Investments, I am Joe Teague.